Everyone saw what happened when Iran fired back during Epic Fury, 31 missiles, 0 American deaths. But the operation that started it all happened months earlier, quieter, deadlier, and almost nobody talks about the engineering behind it. 2 analysts at the Defense Threat Reduction Agency spent 15 years memorizing every vent shaft inside one mountain. Iranian generals called that mountain invulnerable. They were almost right. Iran started digging at Fordow in 2006, carving a tunnel network out of the mountain's northern face. By the time the site was exposed in 2009, the main enrichment hall sat nearly 300 feet, about 85 meters below the surface. That's not a typo. 80 to 90 meters of granite and limestone topped with a shell of reinforced concrete and steel ribs. 5 access tunnels, each lined with over 1 foot of concrete, snake in from the mountain's edge and converge on a central vault. Above it all, a vent shaft nearly 8 meters wide runs straight up through the ridge, camouflaged and capped with blast doors. Iranian engineers called it a fortress. American planners called it a problem. Why bury a nuclear program so deep? The answer came in 2010, when the Stuxnet worm shredded 1,000 centrifuges without a single bomb dropped. Tehran watched as invisible code turned their crown jewel into scrap metal. The lesson was clear. If cyber weapons could reach through the internet, only raw geology could guarantee survival. Fordow's entire design, redundant power, insulated vent shafts, and that mountain of rock was a direct response to Stuxnet. The deeper the haul, the harder the target. The more concrete, the less chance for sabotage, whether from a laptop in Langley or a warhead at 30,000 feet. Ordinary bombs don't even scratch the surface. The deepest U.S. bunker busters before Fordow could punch through maybe 20 feet of concrete or 30 feet of rock. Fordow's engineers gave themselves a 10-fold margin. Every public statement from Iranian generals became a dare. No bomb can reach us here. On paper, they were almost right. If you want to understand how these weapons work and why decisions like this reshape the Middle East right now, subscribe. This channel covers it every week. But what kind of weapon do you need to crack a mountain built to shrug off everything short of a nuclear blast? And who spends 15 years designing a bomb just for one target? Iran didn't just hide Fordow under a mountain and call it a day. They wrapped it in a double shell of missile batteries, radar nets, and overlapping kill zones. The Russian S-300 PMU-2, a 5-cell surface-to-air missile system, stood watch with its 200-kilometer reach. Alongside it, the Iranian-built Bavar 373, with its Mirage 4 phased array radar and Sayad 4 interceptors, filled in the gaps. Together, these systems stitched a blanket of coverage over the Qom corridor. At least, that's what the Ministry of Defense claimed. On paper, Fordow was untouchable. Iranian generals called it invulnerable to any conventional strike. Their press briefings became a kind of performance art, daring anyone to try. But the real test came not from the press room, but from the IAEA's quarterly reports. By early 2025, inspectors warned that Fordow held enough 60% enriched uranium for 9 bombs. The centrifuges were spinning faster than the diplomatic clock. Every month, the stockpile grew. Every week, the window for negotiation shrank. To the outside world, the air defense network looked ironclad, but after the 2024 Israeli F-35 raids, 4 nights of silent incursions, satellite images showed S-300 sites under camouflage nets, Bavar 373 radars being dug up and moved, and new earthworks patched up around burned-out launchers. Iranian officials insisted the air defense remains intact. Internal communications told a different story. Some batteries were down, others degraded, the radar horizon cut nearly in half. Still, for any American strike team, the surface was a wall of missiles, overlapping search beams, and quick-trigger launch crews. Stealth wasn't a luxury, it was the only way in. The question hung in every war room. How do you breach 85 meters of granite ringed by missiles before the world even knows you're there? The bomb that cracked Fordow was not a quick fix or a silver bullet. It was the endpoint of a 15-year engineering campaign, one that started in 2007 with a single question. What does it take to punch through nearly 300 feet of rock and steel? The answer kept changing. Early studies, run by the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, not the headline-grabbing DARPA, imagined a steel dart with brute mass. By 2011, the first GBU-57A weighed in at 30,000 pounds, but could barely reach 78 meters in granite. That wasn't enough. Variant B swapped in a titanium alloy nose and shaped charge, finally breaking 90 meters. Engineers pressed on. Variant C brought in the so-called smart fuse, letting the bomb sense and adapt underground. By 2021, Variant E's tungsten carbide composite casing could survive the impact forces that would crumple most bridges. The final version, Variant G, fielded in 2025, carried adaptive navigation and terminal velocity control, essentially a bunker buster with a brain. Each iteration was heavier, denser, and smarter, forged by years of test drops and modeling sessions. The result? 30,000 pounds of steel and explosives built for one job: to turn a mountain fortress into rubble. That is not brute force, that is surgical violence at 30,000 pounds. The bomb's brain sits in its nose, a smart fuse that does more math in a second than most command centers manage in a day. This is not a simple timer or a contact switch. Inside, a 35 gigahertz radar altimeter scans ahead, bouncing microwaves off layers of rock and concrete, updating its depth reading as the bomb plows downward. An accelerometer tracks every jolt and deceleration, measuring how the nose slows as it punches through granite, then concrete, then maybe an air shaft. The radar and accelerometer feed a microprocessor, a custom-built chip hardened against radiation and shock. It runs a Kalman filter, fusing sensor data to estimate position underground to within 30 centimeters. That is about the length of a shoebox, hardly a margin of error when you are aiming at a vault buried under a mountain. The fuse can be reprogrammed in flight right up to 30 seconds before release. If new geology data comes in, the bomb gets smarter before it leaves the bay. When the sensors say it has reached the right depth, the fuse fires. Not too early, not too late, just as the bomb enters the void where the centrifuges spin. That is not brute force. That is surgical violence at 30,000 pounds. Only one aircraft in the United States arsenal could even attempt this job: the B-2 Spirit. 21 built, each one a flying wing that costs more than some aircraft carriers, about $2.2 billion apiece, counting spares and development. On paper, it looks like something from a Cold War fever dream. In practice, it's a ghost, radar cross-section less than 0.1 square meters, smaller than a gull on a radar screen. Not even the latest Russian S-300 or Iran's Bavar 373 could reliably spot it, let alone stop it. But a stealth bomber alone doesn't solve the problem. You need people who understand mountains better than most geologists, and who hold a personal grudge against the word invulnerable. Enter Dr. Emily Sanchez, rock mechanic by training, nightmare for Iranian engineers by reputation. Alongside her, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Rogers, Air Force scientist and penetration dynamics obsessive. Their Fordow Target Data Set, FTDS, was less a report than a multi-year campaign. Every seismic echo, every vent shaft schematic, every thermal plume mapped and modeled. General Dan Kane, who oversaw the strike, put it plainly: our analysts lived and breathed this mountain for 15 years. Their obsession gave us the confidence to trust a single bomb to collapse the entire facility. That is not a weapons program. That is a grudge match with a mountain. The result? A bomber with just one job, a team with one target, and a tool set built for the kind of mission that only gets briefed in a locked room. The pieces were in place. The question was no longer if the mountain could be cracked, but when. In December 2024, Israeli F-35 swept through Iranian airspace in a series of silent raids. 300 batteries and 4 Bavar, 373 radar nodes vanished from the Qom-Tehran plateau, some destroyed, others left camouflaged and silent. The official line from Tehran: air defense remains unbroken. The satellite photos and intercepted maintenance logs told a different story. The radar horizon around Fordow shrank from 250 kilometers to barely 120 kilometers. For United States strike planners, that was the window. 7 B-2 Spirits, tail numbers 84-001 through 84-07, rolled from Whiteman's hangars with 14 massive ordnance penetrators loaded, 30,000 pounds each, 2 per bomber. But not all of them headed east. 2 peeled off over the Pacific, broadcasting a false track toward Korea. The rest slipped into EM silence, hugging the Turkish corridor, invisible to every Iranian search beam still standing. The deception worked. While Iranian radar screens flickered with phantom bombers over the Caspian, the real strike package crossed the border. 25 minutes to the target. America had committed, no calling it back. Do you think cracking that mountain made the world safer or just made Iran build a deeper one? 25 minutes, 7 B-2 bombers, each loaded with 2 massive ordnance penetrators, crossed the threshold. 14 bombs, 30,000 pounds apiece, fell in pairs. The first strike ripped the concrete cap from Fordow's main shaft, exposing the vault. The next detonations burrowed deeper. Sensors in Colorado registered a sharp 4.2 tremor. Maxor satellites revealed a fresh crater 45 meters across, where the vent shaft once stood. Iranian defenses stayed silent. No missiles launched, no fighters scrambled. Tomahawk cruise missiles had blinded their radars. For the B-2 crews, 18 hours of silence ended with nothing but the aftermath. Craters, seismic echoes, and uncertainty. Did the bombs destroy Fordow's cascade or just force Iran further underground? That question still divides analysts. Today, Fordow's scars run deep, literally and strategically. Each side adapts: deeper tunnels, smarter bombs, higher stakes. The question isn't who wins an arms race underground, it's how long before the ground itself becomes the only thing left to trust. Let me know what you think below.